Hey, welcome back again. We're talking about relational evangelism, right? And so this is should be part number 4 in this series of videos. So if you haven't gotten through the past three first, please go back and walk yourself through those videos. It'll help you understand where we are right now. But I hope you've been hope this what we've been talking about is helps you gain some confidence about how to reach the people within your relational sphere of influence. And so, again, we're in Acts chapter 8 talking about Philip's interaction with the Ethiopian eunuch and allowing that to show us how to reach and connect to the people around us. So he's remember in the earlier video we talked about listening, but as he listens, he begins to hear the Ethiopian eunuch talk about the book of Isaiah, and so now is the moment that Philip speaks. But he doesn't. It's interesting where he begins, because here, these are the first words of the conversation. Do you understand what you are reading? I want to talk to you about the power of asking questions. Philip didn't open with a sermon. He didn't lead with an answer. He started with a question. Do you understand what you're reading? Statements confronts, questions connect. When we lead with statements, sometimes we are, and when we're trying to declare something, now, while that can be powerful in the right moment, it can also feel abrupt, especially to someone who's not ready for it. A statement says, "Here's what I think," but a question says, "Where are you? Where are you at?" The difference is everything. That difference is everything in relational evangelism now. Statements tend to put people on the defensive. They draw lines, they imply certainty, and if we are not careful, superiority. Even when our hearts are right, statements can come off like a verdict before there's even been a conversation. But questions invite. They open up space in that relational. They open up relational space. They give honor. When you ask someone a question, you're doing something radical. That's something that's radical in today's world. You're telling them your perspective matters and I'm interested. Your voice matters. I'm not just here to speak, I'm here to understand. And that posture breaks down walls. It's why Philip didn't start with, "Let me tell you about Jesus." He started with, "Do you understand what you're reading?" That one question did more than spark a conversation. It gave the eunuch ownership of the moment. It allowed him to invite Philip in. And that's a really important part that you have to understand. Because if you can get the person to invite you in, right? Because someone just barges in your house, barges through your door, what's your first instinct? To push out. But if you can get them to invite in, it is now you're in a space, right? When you ask a question, you're not forcing your way into someone's life. You're waiting to be invited in. You're saying with your posture, "I'm here, I'm listening. If you want to talk, I'm ready." And that's rare right now, right? I find that if people can really find that space, they're more than willing to really invite that type of conversation in. Because people are used to being preached at without ever being known, argued with without being heard, dismissed without even being valued. Statements push, questions pull. Statements declare, questions will draw people out. That's why questions are so powerful in relational evangelism, because they don't just start conversations, they create space. Space for honesty, space for vulnerability, and space for mutual respect. When you lead with a question, you show humility and not assumption. You're not assuming you know where they're at and what they need to hear. You're not assuming they're wrong or confused or lost, right? Sometimes we come in with these statements and they're saying, like, wait a second. um, you're saying, "Help me understand you before I try to help you understand Jesus." You give them the dignity, you give them dignity and not pressure. You're treating them like a person, and not a project. You're honoring their thoughts, their journey, and their freedom to respond. Because remember what Jesus said in the book of Revelation. He said, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and opens the door." Not even Jesus, he's saying, I wait to be invited. I wait to be drawn in. All I do is patiently knock. Right? So people are more likely to open up when they feel respected and not cornered. You invite engagement and not resistance. Questions will pull people into conversation. They shift the tone from confrontation to a collaborative conversation with them. Again, here, Philip's question, do you understand what you are reading? It's it's not just about comprehension. This is a strategic question. It's a question meant to create connection. And so he wasn't testing the eunuch's intelligence, but he was reaching for his heart. That one question allowed the eunuch to admit his confusion without shame. It gave him the freedom to say, actually, I don't understand, but I want to. That's the moment the door opened. And Philip didn't push through it, but he waited for that door to open, right? And the bottom line is this: questions create a space for relationship. And that's where revelation can take root.